Good day, everyone. In this podcast, the highlight is a 17-minute or so recap of the Twilight 2000 game that I ran on my birthday. We also have a couple unboxings and calls from Joe Richter and Jason Connerly. So enjoy.
Hey, Carl, it's Joe. I've read the player's guide to that Pathfinder adventure you were talking about where everyone wakes up in the asylum with no memories. I don't know. I didn't love it. I wasn't all that interested in running it, but that's a huge bummer, man, that your group was just like, yeah, let's play this adventure path. And then after the first book gets done, they say, no, we don't want to play the adventure path anymore. I don't know. That's kind of a bait and switch. And the whole idea of, now our characters don't have any motivation to keep going with the adventure path. I hate that excuse. Like, yeah, your characters are fictional. You just give them the motivation. It's not hard. I don't know, man. So that stuff like that just bums me out when players do that kind of thing, because I'm sure you put in a lot of work getting ready. Sorry, I got cut off there. I was saying you probably put in a bunch of work already into that second book, and just to have the group just be like, we don't care that you put in that work. Our characters / us as players don't feel like playing it anymore, even though we already agreed to. And, that's cool if the players are honest about it, that no, they don't want to continue this adventure path. Like, that's fine. But just to say our characters aren't motivated to continue is just, I don't know, like I said earlier, it's just a weak excuse. I just, that shit just irritates the crap out of me. Sorry. But yeah, the Pathfinder adventure paths, they can be, excuse me, pretty railroady. Like, I'm almost finished with Rise of the Rune Lords. We're almost finished with Rise of the Rune Lords. We're in I think our next session will be our last. And it's been a pretty fun adventure, but it is super railroady, right? Like, it's an adventure path, especially with a new GM who's just learning how to do it. Our GM, yeah, she's pretty new and has done a great job, but it's, she plays the game by the book, which is understandable because that's what the book says to do. So I get that. But they're really great. Pathfinder adventure paths are awesome. They're my favorite that I've read. I love them way more than the Wizards of the Coast adventures that they've released. I don't actually think those are that great from what I've read of them. I've read a bunch of them, but yeah, I don't know. Pathfinder ones are just better, I think. Anyway, that's enough rambling about adventure paths from me. I fully agree with you that the Barbarians of Lemuria game is cursed. I don't think we'll ever finish it. In fact, I think if we do, either something amazing or horrific will happen. We'll either, unlock a portal to hell, or it'll start raining money if we finish. Something awesome or terrible will happen, which is why we will never finish it. But when we do, and when you're done with your Deadlands game, yeah, if it's my turn next, it'll be my turn next, and that'll be super fun. I'd love to run for you guys. I don't know if I'd run Pathfinder. I don't know if I want to inflict that sort of character creation on you guys, but, that'll be up for the group to decide. Anyway, man, great stuff. Keep it up. Peace out.
Hey, Joe, thanks for the call. I will add that in that particular campaign, it was a Pathfinder First Edition adventure path. I attempted to convert to 5e on the fly, and there were a couple situations, and I think this probably would have happened in 1e2. It's just the dynamic nature of the way the adventures in Pathfinder 1 are put together. Monsters just don't stay around in the same room, and they can't get out, right? If they can flee, they're going to flee and get reinforcements, and I think that's logical. And there are a couple instances where this group got into trouble, and they might have died or something like that when this happened. So maybe that was part of it. I don't know. I can't pretend to read the minds of the people. All I know is what was communicated to me, that there is no motivation to continue after the second book in the adventure path, which is unfortunate because I think it brings in, that adventure path brings in a lot of Carcosa elements and Great Old One elements, and that's why it was intriguing to the players. But I guess in their minds, my execution and the designers' vision did not work. So again, thanks for the call, and we'll talk to you soon.
Hey Carl, Jason here. I kind of hope Joe Richter runs Apocalypse World or Monster Hearts for us when his turn comes up. As far as the Raven and East Texas University, well, obviously it's got nothing to do with Texas. It's a reference to Edgar Allan Poe. But, excellent show. I always enjoy hearing your thoughts. And, yeah, I think for the most part, the whole railroading conversation just comes down to the players and the GM being on the same sheet of music before the game starts. Having that discussion before play starts. Hey, this is the kind of game I'm running. This is what you can expect. And either players are on board or they're not. And if they're not on board, then that's the time for them to leave, is before the game even starts, instead of a couple sessions in. So, anyhow, looking forward to your game tomorrow night. Take care. Talk to you soon.
Yeah, Jason, I think you're correct. For example, when we set up our Cthulhu Invictus game that was going to take place in the Toteberg Forest, I gave everyone the premise and said, this is sort of what happened in history, and we're going to explore it. And it looks like everyone bought in, because most people stayed till the very end. Actually, everyone stayed till the very end, they would have been there had not scheduling conflicts come up. But I think it was a very compelling mini campaign, and it worked really well. And you are right, it's having that conversation.
Whoops, I almost forgot to do the song identification. Death Clock.
Honestly, Jason, I think you're the only one who joined in the contest, and it looks like you had 3 bennies. So I guess you win. We'll have to talk about what you win exactly. And it'll be cool when you use that for your own fun and happiness. That win. Maybe I'll make you a trophy. It'll be a virtual trophy, but a trophy nonetheless. So I guess there might be, I'll have to look and see what other songs I had. Jason guessed a few of them. He guessed the Metallica Four Horsemen from Kill 'Em All, and he guessed the Enter Sandman by Metallica from the Black Album. But I had Four Horsemen, and I had Kill 'Em All, and I know I had the epilogue to Rush Hemispheres in there, and I know I had the intro lyric to Stargazer by Ronnie James Dio off of Catch the Rainbow, I believe. So I believe that's about it with regards to the songs, and I'll try something again that more people can participate in next time. Hey there, I got a couple boxes today, but I'm going to do one unboxing now and maybe one later. So I got this box from Chaosium. It's a USPS media mail. It came pretty quick because I feel like I ordered it less than a week ago. So here we go. It's about 8.5 by 11 and about 3 or 4 inches deep. Use my handy dandy box cutter. Don't cut too deep, right? It's double box. There's a box with some paper and then a box inside. See, Amy, it would have been a lot harder to rebox it up. So this is pretty easy to open. And what is it? It is in fact the new Call of Cthulhu long adventure campaign called Children of Fear. So it looks very interesting. Very briefly, it's not your typical, it seems like it was sold as not your typical 1920s campaign because it takes place across Asia. So it starts in 1923, and it starts with an urgent and mysterious telegram from an American adventurer that will plunge adventurers, investigators into an epic journey across China, Central Asia, Northern India, and hidden Tibet. So again, it looks very different. It looks very cool. It's by Lynn Hardy and others and friends. So very excited. It does say for mature readers, so it's probably a pretty intense campaign with a lot of adult themes. So there you go, Children of Fear for Call of Cthulhu. Okay, another quick unboxing. I got another package today. USPS Media Mail from somewhere in Wisconsin. There's the open. It's a bigger box, bigger than the last box. It's about 11 by 17 by like 5. Opened up, lots of paper products, and again, it's a doubly wrapped. You gotta like that. People are wrapping things doubly, so it has like a paper and then an inner layer of cardboard. And I cut the cardboard out. Yes. Yep, I guess it's adding to my collection and obsession with Twilight 2000. So it's some other Twilight 2000 modules. Very nice. I have them on PDF, but I do not have The Ruins of Warsaw, Return to Warsaw, The Black Madonna, and White Eagle. So very cool products for hopefully an ongoing Twilight 2000 campaign. Sometimes a railroad doesn't go as planned, and that's a good thing. Last night, I ran a game of Twilight 2000 40K for my birthday. I like to do this on my birthday, just run a game that I haven't run for a while or haven't run ever. Last year I ran a AD&D 2nd Edition Al-Qadim game. There are two common themes from both games. I plan overmuch, and I don't get done what I want to get done. But that's okay, and it was a really good game last night with Twilight 2000. We were able to highlight a lot of the rules, which I thought was cool, and there are some good things that people said about it, which accomplished some of the goals that I wanted to accomplish for running this game. So who the players were, so you know Jason Connerly from Nerds Variety RPG Cast, Kevin Madison from Dungeon Musings podcast and Actual Play. And there are a couple people who played, or several people who played who don't have podcasts. So Sean and Matt, and also my wife Amy played, which was a cool treat. And I think she blended well with the group. Why would she not? So it was pretty cool. So I set the game. The default location to set the game is Poland at the beginning, or to set the game in Poland in the aftermath of a U.S. and German counterattack or counteroffensive called Operation Reset. It doesn't go well. Polish and Soviet forces are more... Intelligence was bad. Soviet and Polish forces were more dug in and numerous than were thought. So the U.S. 5th Army and the German 3rd were stalled and stalemated, and the U.S. 5th actually took the brunt of the result and disastrous aftermath, and that it was pretty much broken up. So there's this famous handout and quote that tells about the engagement in the original Twilight 2000, and they have that for the Twilight 2000 4th edition, which is the version that we ran, and the famous line is, "You're on your own," at the end. I think it actually says, "Good luck, you're on your own." So that's how it started. They escaped. The group of players fortunately had, maybe because of one of the NPCs was a mechanic, and in the motor pool had access to maybe a M113 APC that was in the shop, but in good order and had some fuel. Maybe it was in reserve and ready to roll out, but when shit hit the fan, well, it was there. So these people jump on board. Seemed like it was 1, 2, 3, 4 military personnel and 2 civilians, a Polish woman who my wife played, and then a German intelligence agent nicknamed Jonesy, who was played by Kevin Madison. And the other 2 players, Matt and Sean, played an ex-SEAL. That's who Sean played, and then Matt played an Army Recon private, I believe, or corporal. I can't remember which. And then the 2 NPCs were the driver and the heavy weapons specialist, the machine gunner. So they drove off into the night, made it some 6 kilometers, and then decided to figure out what the hell to do. And I thought it might have been a little overlong. I should have pushed it, but I really enjoyed the dialogue, honestly, of what the characters shared, the rumors that they had heard, and trying to decide where to go based on the knowledge that they had, which I think is totally part of the sandbox nature of the game. And I wanted them to funnel them in a certain direction, and I hope, honestly, that the hints would lead them that direction. But they're, even with the overall direction or the end goal in mind of where they wanted to go, there are still various ways they could get there, which I think is, again, highlights, as one of the players said, the sandbox nature of the game. So there was a lot of deliberation. They finally decided to travel south along a river, stay off the roads. They had to cross the road, and that's where I introduced Jason's character, who is a civilian American expat who'd been living in Poland for a long time and suffered tragedy when the war happened, losing his family and his livelihood. And now they came upon him as the APC crested the hill. They saw this civilian pickup being harassed by marauders on motorcycles. So the engagement, it took a while in play because it was the first time that we had a combat, and I wanted to highlight some of the mechanics of Twilight 2000, but it went pretty smoothly. I used a card deck with the face cards removed just to do like sort of an action card approach that you could do with Twilight 2000, the 4th edition. You basically, they have specific cards that will be in the box set that are labeled 1 to 10, and it's basically 1 to 10 in order of lowest to highest is how you do initiative. But you could use a deck of cards, just remove the face cards, aces equals 1, and you go up to 10, which is pretty cool and kind of fun to do. A neat mechanic in the initiative is that you can flip initiatives with someone. So you have like a lot of aces on people who maybe are not combatants or are more close combat types. Then like what the characters did is they flipped the ace with the NPC Diaz, who was the driver of the APC, so that the driver could get into position first. So what happened is, and you might hear this on other podcasts, I hope, if it was that popular and that successful. So what was cool is that they had Diaz like basically drive over the hill, and I had someone roll for them because all the character sheets are on roll 20, and it's pretty easy to roll, and plus it also is good to just highlight how the mechanics work, reinforce that. And the Diaz got a really good drive roll, so was able to just crest the rise, and then get almost in the way of the bikes. And then in the meantime, then Ronson, the machine gunner, they had the machine gunner like fire down the line and rolled well enough to wing one of the drivers so that they crashed into the woods, and then totaled the bike on the other one. So the driver gets hard stopped quickly and flips head over heels and is a mangled mess on the side of the road. So it was off to a good start. They let Jason's character go next, and he pulled a very common action that you see in car Fast and Furious movies, where he slams on the brakes, trying to crash into and disrupt the motorcycle, but it was kind of a push, and he pushed his roll, so a mishap occurred. So yes, he crashed the motorcycle, but the driver was able to like jump the motorcycle into the back of the truck, and there's some smashing of windows, and Jason's character was a little injured. I think that was the only injury in this combat, because now that as Diaz drove over one of the players, the tops rolled, who's the ex-SEAL, kind of rolled out the back. I had him do, since it was kind of a complicated maneuver, I had this player do like an equivalent of an athletics check. I think it was mobility, and they did very well, so they could set up a firing position up on the hill. The other players stayed there in the APC, and then when it stopped, they jumped off. So there was like now this motorcycle in the bed of the truck that is now stopped on the road. The other marauder seeing his one of his buddies kind of stuck in a situation, and his other two marauder buddies basically done, tries to take off. Meanwhile, I think what happened then was that this German intelligence agent, now that they were stopped, just took shots at the stunned driver who had crashed into the woods and was still kind of alive, but dazed from the crash, and took him down. And then there was a call to take prisoners. So the other two players, my wife's character Kasia, and another player's character named Grunts, who was the recon or the airborne character, got off the APC to try to capture prisoners. Kasia did go into the woods and first aid to make sure that the first one that was taken down was stabilized at least. But then seeing the situation in the back of the truck where the marauder now still okay and having recovered from the sudden leap of faith and crash into the back of the pickup truck, opened fire on Jason's character, but missed. So Jason's character, Sam, got out of the truck, dropped prone and rolled around to the bottom of the truck so he couldn't be a target of fire. But by that time, things became resolved. Both Matt's character and my wife's character had a M16 and a shotgun trained on them, and my wife's character, who's very good at persuading people, told them to pick up all the potatoes that were spilled on the ground. So she rolled really well, and it was an opposed roll, so we got to highlight another mechanic, and she rolled really well. I think she rolled 3 successes on her dice, and I didn't roll any for the bad guy. So with this woman with a shotgun yelling in his face, the small petite, looks like a teenager, with a shotgun in his face, maybe reminds him of a sister or his mother, jumps out of the bed of the vehicle and starts picking up potatoes. So that was the combat, and like I said, it went longer than I had wanted to, but we were taking it slow to highlight the new mechanics that we were all learning. I had read them but never put them into practice, and it worked really well, and I think it's a very dynamic system. Players, I helped them to take advantage of shooting multiple shots, and the ammo rolls and the dice and the push mechanic that we used came out, and opposed skill rolls came out, driving tasks. I would say that the one that was trying to get away, they never got away. Sean's character, the ex-SEAL sniper, basically sat there on the hill and took a shot and hit in the back of the head. It's a fantastic shot from range and took out the marauder. So now this bike kind of rolls into the grass. So they got some good salvage. They got the parts and pieces of some bikes and at least one intact bike. So a pretty good haul for a first combat. So I'd wanted to go further into an actual encounter, but the characters decided to go in a different direction, which is fine. And they drove to a town where the Marauders came, or they had learned from the Marauders after interrogating them that they had been driven out of this town that they thought the Marauders were in possession of by elements of one of the Soviet Army element. So they decided to go there and press their luck and pretend to be Polish civilians. So they changed their uniforms or hid their insignia, hid their American weapons, and had the weapons or used the weapons that they recovered from the Marauders. So then basically they came to the scene where the Soviets had now had like a makeshift barricade on the road in the entrance to this town, and then on the side of the road they had a work detail of Polish civilians digging trenches, and they saw that they were burying bodies, presumably of Marauders. And there was an very interesting exchange between the talkie people in the group, which was my wife's character and Kevin's character, the Polish alleged teenager, and the German agent. So they were able to exchange these prisoners for passage and bounty. So there's a bounty on these Marauders, so they could get some gear or find things that they might be looking for their little convoy. They had hid the APC with Ronson and Diaz off in the woods because that could be probably a hostile action to drive an APC to a Soviet-held location. So that was a good strategic thinking. And I think if we pick this up again, I'm really hoping to pick this up again. I kind of stopped and just gave them an overview of Wayland, this town that they were going to, and the situation with the Soviet element of the Soviet Army occupying this place, and give them some maybe hooks for the future. But definitely I have to go back and review some of the, for example, moral code of the characters, because those prisoners were taken to the ditch and summarily executed. So I guess that's definitely what I decided that the Soviet Army, who had just kicked these Marauders out of the town, would do to Marauders. So there's some, I think, that might, especially the Americans, who might hesitate, or when they see that, it could cause them some stress, for example. So things I got to go back and review. I definitely want to pick this game up again. I think it was enjoyable by everyone. And until next time. I definitely, if the players who played listen here, thank you for playing. It was a very enjoyable end to my birthday. Earlier in the day, I'd gone to what I think is the best place to get barbecue in Texas, which is Lockhart, Texas. And there are multiple places, and my friend and I tried a new place, which the locals love, called Smitty's. And I got some really good barbecue early in the morning, drove back. Unfortunately, we had our air conditioner break over the weekend, so they were reinstalling it today. Very fortunately, we got them to reinstall things very quickly, so they were able to install the air conditioner by the end of the day, and then watched some episode or two of Downton Abbey. Then got ready to play the game that we enjoyed so much. So again, thank you all for playing. Thank you for listening. And probably, since this is a longer segment, let's just do the outro. Might as well. Thanks for my call-ins from Joe Richter of Hindsightless and Jason Connerly, who calls in very regular, which is awesome. Thanks, Jason. Love you bunches. And thank you all for listening. And until next time, peace out. And happy gaming.